Good morning, campers, and welcome to week 3 of our Raspberry Pi course. So this week we're going to start talking about Python programming, but before that I want to do some of the review videos that I had mentioned before. I should say, by the way, that today's video is brought to you by GTS Kombucha Organic and Raw Kombucha, making quality kombucha since 1995. Actually, I'm just kidding. I don't have any sponsors, and I probably don't intend to. I'm just messing around. Anyway, so the camp isn't really designed to be a class as such, but today, the first video for this week will feel a little bit like a class. We're going to go through some notes, some background terms, and then we're going to jump into Python programming. Now, when we started the course, we mentioned certain terms. Among them, let's go to my whiteboard here. We mentioned, well, of course, Raspberry Pi. That's the most obvious one, right? We mentioned Linux operating system. That is actually discussed interchangeably with Raspbian. Actually, maybe I should put this off of that, because it's actually just a type of Linux, a flavor of Linux, if you will. We mentioned micro SD. And there are a bunch of other things we did as well, but I want to just start there. So when we talk about the Raspberry Pi, I'm going to switch to red because that changes everything about how we understand things. Switch colors. Really what we mean is we have a piece of hardware, right? And when we talk about hardware in computing, we're talking about just the physical thing itself. You know, we're talking about the laptop itself, the PC itself. In this case, the Raspberry Pi itself they're all examples of hardware. Okay, so that's the physical thing, the physical computer. Itself. But see, then what happens is that the hardware can't just work all by itself. You have to tell it to work. So the way we do that is we're using software, right? So when we talk about software, we're talking about programs that are written to get the hardware to do what we want. All right, now you might say, well, wait, what about operating systems? So here I want to start out with some examples. So what are examples of operating systems, right? So Windows is probably the biggest example of an operating system in terms of how many computers or desktops it's installed on. Mac OS X is another operating system. Unix, Linux, Android, and I can go on, but all of those are operating systems. And the operating system is software that allows you to interact with the hardware in order to get it to operate the hardware, right? So it's a software system that allows you to operate the hardware. Now, in the case of the Raspberry Pi, that's our hardware. And we can install different operating systems on the Pi. There's actually a version of Windows that works on the Pi, which we're not using in this course. But usually what we install is a type of Linux. In this case, we're installing Raspbian Linux. Okay? And Linux is an open source operating system. You can get it for free. You don't have to pay for it, and you can see its code. You know, with Windows and Mac, you can't see its code. So I'm going to stop there, and then I'll come back with another video, and we'll start working through our activities for the week. All right, thanks.